It's a list of the keyboard commands, a little handy little one sheet thing that you could print out, post a PDF. It's from MacMost, and they have them for every OS. The latest one is, of course, Tahoe. So, I download a PDF and print it out and stick it by me, or you can, just leave it on your desktop.
Oh,
Make it a
that's great.
desktop.
Those are
Yeah.
very helpful.
Yeah.
And yeah, print them out and they're great. I mean, I remember when we had the old Empower Mac ones, but they've changed since then. Okay. Uh so and then somebody else had a physical hand up. Was it you, Rich? Somebody had a physical hand up. Brandy, I know you've
No, it
got
was
yours up.
me.
What's that?
It was me, Dave.
Okay, go ahead, Dave, and then I'll go to Randy.
My question is on my iMac about a month ago, all of a sudden in the top left-hand corner, I started showing up a small calendar, weather of another city, and an old portrait. It looks like it's an X-ray, but it's still up there. How do I get rid of it?
This is on your iMac?
Yeah.
Those are widgets that showed up with Tahoe.
Yeah, those are in widgets. And boy, um, okay, try command click or control click on it and see if it gives you some choices.
Should, yeah. One of the choices is to remove the widget.
Yeah. And that's either command or because I don't have them up, so I can't do it, but it's usually the modifier key would be or right click on them, but command click or control using left kick up there and see.
It also, that right clicking or control clicking also allows you to change the size of the widget or to edit it also.
And let's go see if in system settings there's a widgets thing. Because, we've had that on iOS for a while. So I'm going into, let's see here. Yeah, widget setting, desktop and dock. Widget setting, if you go into system settings, you guys, I'm going to display this too, because I think this is instructive. So let me get my screen coming back up again.
I'll put a few things in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you, Al. So you guys can see my screen. If I go up to the, up in the upper left, Apple logo, come down to system settings. And yeah, there's a new update pending and I just don't have it in yet. But here, they've changed settings quite a bit. So everything's here, but we've got a little search here. So we know this is a widget. So I just type in widget, and here's different things that it talks about it. So I said, well, widget setting must be it. So you're searching within system settings, and then we click that, and here is show widgets. And so that would be a way to do it. But the big part of it here is if I hit that and I go back to regular system settings, I can put in anything like we could do the arrange. See, like here is the arrange, like June was having trouble. Now she wasn't in Tahoe, but it shows you right there what to do. And I can move them and do it. It takes me right there. So don't ever be afraid to use that search. And the same thing happens on your iOS device. Um, you can go into settings in iOS. Let me see. I think I can display my iPhone. Okay, so you can see my iPhone on the screen here. Oh, I have to unlock it. Okay. Come on, there we go. So if I go to settings on my iPhone, down here is search, and I can say here, I'll say widgets. Oh, well, they're not really widgets on that, but I could look for, let's say I wanted to search for, wallpaper. So add new wallpaper, do that. So all of our all of our setting places have search. And if you're on an older iPhone, you may have to pull down and it'll be kind of at the top. But don't be afraid to use that stuff. That'll take you. And again, that's the kind of stuff that's gonna be in when you can integrate the AI to it all. Okay. Randy, you've got a hand up.
Yes. Before I get to my question regarding the new iPads, just following up on all of the AI things, I saw a demonstration this morning prior to MacNexus meeting, one that I haven't heard of. So obviously there's multiple AI formats and possibilities. One was that I saw was Claude, Claude.
Yep.
Unbelievable. Is it just that there's so many different AI programs and some are just for different work specialties? Because this was like a spreadsheet designed
Thought
with
Claude was a device.
Well, no,
Claude, CL.
Claude is part of Anthropic or one of the others. I mean, you can do a search on it, but so Grok is part of XAI. Chat GPT is part of OpenAI. Um, Gemini is part of Google's AI. I mean, they have names for them, and I forget, and then Perplexity and all that, but they have specialties. And if you go back to the recording, Pete did a good thing when he talked about AI a bit ago, but it's AI. It's we're in the dot-com bubble where there were 5 different companies selling pet food that had a .com at the end of their name, So it's oversaturated, and I personally, and I haven't really read this anywhere, but I think, okay, Amazon is a great success story, good customer service, doing things. And they started out selling books.
Yeah.
And this was kind of before the .com bubble, but they were early on in the .com. And their secret sauce was that they could pretty much source any book. And of course, the thing about Amazon was it's as big as the Amazon jungle, and you can get whatever you want. So Amazon invested a lot of money into the infrastructure, into hiring people, and they were losing money like crazy. And of course, oh my God, they're losing so much. You shouldn't invest in them and all that. Well, there were people that thought, and it was, I think, there were 2 major things that made Amazon. Well, there were 3 major things that made Amazon into the powerhouse they are. First was the customer service. They would, any returns, anything else. So, and you got to remember that was the early days of the internet and people were gun shy. Well, no, what happens if there's something wrong? Then there was the technology, and the technology, it was always invested in the technology to make it better. And the third thing is they got what is called first mover advantage. So they took that investment and made them so big that Barnes and Noble already had bookstores, but they couldn't compete because Amazon had done it so right and had garnered so much, and that's called critical mass. So they had garnered so much momentum at that point that it was, and that was just in the book part of it. And then it went further along. They acquired Zappos, which was an online shoe company that was really good about returns and everything, had excellent customer service, and Amazon wanted part of that business, so they just bought Zappos, and they continued that. And I mean, that was later on. Believe it or not, Amazon makes a huge amount of their profits off selling other companies their computer time. It's called AWS, Amazon Web Services. They are, I don't know if they're the biggest, but I think so. Basically, that's a whole side of, and they have that business because they developed it that way. But Amazon is just plain huge. So the .com kind of happened. So what happens is and what I'm trying to stress is everybody's trying to be first mover advantage, but there's 12 different companies or whatever in AI trying to get first mover advantage. It's not called dozen mover advantage. It's called first mover advantage. So they're, and everybody's, and then it becomes such a thing. So investors are like, oh my God, I got to invest in AI. Well, where's the return? I mean, it's hugely expensive. The amount of electricity they have to get, the services they have to get, it's just, so it's going to shake out where there's going to be a few players. And that's fine. There has to be just a few players so it can be successful and competitive. But if it's split 12 different ways, it's going to be, you can put window dressing on it. And the early in AI, there were specialties. There were 3 or 4 that were really good about doing artistic images. There were others that were good at searching videos. There were some that were doing medical. And actually, my best friend, I turned him on to this app he uses all the time. That's an actual medical one that, as a doctor, it's incredible in the ER, and it is one that is targeted just to medical people because they ask questions in certain ways and stuff. And so there's going to be niches like that. But to lump AI into it, it'd be kind of like, oh, okay, lump all the car companies into one. They're all different. So I think it's going to shake out. I think there's ones in there, but for just the informational part, tying in and getting in with one and getting, and you don't have to be tied to it. You can end a subscription anytime you want. And most of them let you use last month's technology for free because they've moved on to something new. I have not. I'm on Grok, but I'm not. I pay on X.com. I have the lowest account. You can do X.com for free, but I'm supporting it and I get less ads, and it gives me a level at Grok that I'm on. But only once have I ever exceeded my thing, and it says come back later. So play with that. And
Okay.
I think, though, there are different ones that do different things well, and that might be how it shakes out. But they're all trying to do that. If they find a weak point, they're trying to do it. And what's amazing is this thing called machine learning, where it's not like they're having to throw employees at it to learn how to do videos better. The computers itself are doing machine learning, and they're becoming these agents. And one employee, with the help of AI, is doing the work of 12 employees. So it's getting scary. But,
Do you
all
have
right.
any experience with the voice recording AI things that you clamp them on the back of your phone?
Well, yeah, I don't have solutions, but there are, I mean, that's what's going. In fact, I just had told somebody, so, like doing minutes for a meeting or taking notes. There's, well, we get live transcription on our phone right now. If somebody's leaving you a voicemail message, it puts it up there. So, uh, well, in fact, we get with
I'll
Zoom, like,
report back
what's
next
that?
workshop. So I have one coming.
Good. Keep us posted. Because I mean, I think that's a great thing. Think about, you just go to a lecture or you go to a doctor's office. I mean, I did this with my mom years ago, and I I turned voice memos on my iPhone, and it was just simply because there a lot of stuff said, and you want to, and it's this is not, and the whole thing wasn't for legal aspects. It was so after the meeting we could go back over it and say what's up and things like that, because I have really good memory, but some of that stuff just gets lost in the weeds. So I would keep it in my pocket, and then we go over it. And it was very, very instructive because if especially if it's an older person talking to a doctor, you stuff kind of goes past you, and then you, oh, what was said and things like that.
Uh,
So but then to be able to transcribe that would be incredible, and it's out there because there's live
well,
transcription.
here's a bit of news for you. I know you're a Kaiser, correct?
Not any longer. No, I'm with
No,
Sutter.
Sutter. You go in for a doctor's appointment. First thing the doctor or the physician assistant, whichever you're seeing, first thing out of their mouth is, "We're recording. Is that okay with you?" Well,
Yeah.
I you as the appointment finishes, they're using AI. You get a perfect report. They'll print it and you take it with you.
Yeah, and Sutter's doing, certain doctors with Sutter are doing that. It's funny because 3 years ago, 2 years ago, whenever it was, I went to a podiatrist. Actually, the guy had sold his practice. It was a client of mine for a long time with Apple stuff, but he sold he retired from the practice. But I went in there, and the doctor had an iPad, and he was FaceTiming a guy in the Philippines.
Wow.
And he said, "Do you mind if we have you on FaceTime and all this?" And that was essentially what Bob just talked about, but it was before AI, where that person on the other line was doing all the note taking, and what they call scripting is, the doctors. I mean, it's such an onerous task that they have to, because of legality and everything else, they have to do all this transcribing of notes and everything else, where that's a perfect example. But that's how they initiated it, was doing that stuff. And now, of course, it can be done with AI. And I think it's fantastic because it makes those medical records better, and it also makes them more easily searchable. And no, it seems intrusive, but you know what? Those are not the things you have to worry about. It's, the cat's out of the bag, where you can no longer be anonymous. And I guess you can just embrace it. And I look at it like, well, since I can't be anonymous, let's use those tools as much as I can to my benefit. So, Bertie, go right ahead. Unmute yourself, please, if you're still there. To be continued. There we go. Hi, Bertie.
Hi. Well, this question relates to what we had discussed earlier, but the topic you had was very interesting. Thank you. We're talking about screens. And this morning, while I was quickly searching for the link to today's meeting, I have to go to Mail, and I had a totally look on my MacBook Pro screen. It took up the full screen. I've never seen that before. Would that have been related to an overnight update? And I think we usually have to authorize for that.
So when you went, you mean what you were in mail and it went full screen?
Yes.
Well, it could have happened that way, but it could have inadvertently happened too. And that's the whole green dot thing we were talking about,
That's
or,
what I thought.
and then use the escape button to get out of full screen jail.
So I use escape and
If it's full screen, you just hit the escape key
okay,
or move your cursor up to the far left corner and hit the green dot.
the green
And
dot.
you won't see the green dot when you're in full screen. It hides everything. It's actually, if you think about it, it's making it so you can see more of what you're trying to look at the expense of your dock and your menu bar and things like that. So you when you move your cursor way up to the upper left corner, then the red, green, and yellow dots will appear, and then you could hit the green dot.
Right. Now, if you want to go back and resume looking at full screen, what
You
does one
can
do?
tap the red dot.
Tap,
I'm sorry, green dot, green dot. I'm sorry.
tap it back again.
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. That was just a quick question.
no, that was good.
And the difference between red and green is very important.
Yeah, it is. And again,
Yes.
there's some weird thing with Apple that, on a Windows machine, if you hit the X to get rid of, I think it's the X, to get rid of what's on the screen, it quits the program. Well, in here, only certain apps quit. And even within the Apple apps, some do, some don't. So I don't know if there's any rhyme or reason to it, but it's one of those things. So Randy, go ahead.
Yes, I have a iPad question and a quick story, and this is true story. My iPad that I currently have is so old, it will not even open when I try to get into the Apple store to shop for a new iPad. So anyway, I'm enjoying all that's a true story. That is absolute true. But anyway, so
Well, now
enticing to see.
are you using Safari or are you using the app,
Probably on the app on my old iPad, but
the Apple Store app?
yeah, but it says no longer supports, and I think it's 17 when I said uh,
Sure.
over. But anyway, I'm enticed by all of Al's great hard work and all of those links, and I'm thinking of getting and I need your help. I remember one of your travel. You had said you use between like the 11-inch iPad Air or the 13-inch iPad Air. I seem to recall you saying you use the smaller 11-inch because of the in-hotel safe size would not uh,
Oh,
facilitate you storing the
gotcha.
iPad that you had.
Okay.
I'm looking at all of these new ones. I'm just thinking, the 11-inch iPad Air, the 13-inch iPad Air. Any recommendations? Oh, and with cellular, I would think I'd want cellular, or would like from my iPhone to the new
Yeah.
potential iPad, can I do a link?
Yeah. Great question. And and everybody's different and has a different use case. So while I have an 11-inch iPad, I never use it.
Oh,
I originally had one of the big ones, but I use an iPad mini, which is 9 something inches all the time. That is with me. It can fit in some pants back pockets. You don't want to do it often because it'll bend. But if I have a vest on or something like that, it'll fit in the pocket for that. That I keep with me and use that huge. But and and my comment, so what you brought up was about safes when I travel. That was about the 13 and 14-inch MacBook Pros versus the 16-inch MacBook Pro. When Apple came out with the 14-inch and the 16-inch MacBook Pro, previously there were 13s and 15s. And this was the first of the M series chips when the M1 came out. So I was luckily on a trip when the 14 and 16-inch MacBook Pro came out because oh man, I want to get the 16. Well, that's the trip I went to Morocco, Jordan, and Egypt. And I had a 13-inch MacBook Pro with me. And I said, and that was a great little machine, but it wasn't ultimately, it didn't have enough power for what I wanted. So those new ones got introduced while I was on the trip. And I realized that on that trip, 80% of the hotel safes would accommodate my 13-inch MacBook Pro. But looking at them, I'm going, there's no way, because they barely fit, that the 16-inch MacBook Pro would do it. And I wanted the 16-inch MacBook Pro because I wanted a bigger screen. And on that trip, I decided, so when I got back, luckily I got a 14 and it's been great. Now, relating to iPads, you'd be hard pressed to find a hotel safe that the iPad Pro wouldn't fit in. So, because it's not as thick as the MacBook Pro, and I think that's the case. Now, I recommend with iPads, go to the store, any store, Costco, Best Buy, the Apple Store. You need to go hands on. And remember, just like with computers and displays, you're in this big store with really high roofs. So everything's going to look smaller than it does when you get inside an airplane seat. Okay. So take that into consideration. But there's Al holding up his mini, and it's got to be more in front of you because it kind of, yeah, it's tough. So the thing is that you ergonomic, the bigger the better, but it gets more expensive. It has a little more weight. And for me, the mini works perfectly because I'm very lucky. Even though I'm very nearsighted, I need no correction for reading a book or reading my iPad up close. So for me, the mini works fine for that because it's very portable. Now, if I'm editing photos or doing something like that, I usually do it on my MacBook Pro, but that's some reason where the bigger iPad would do it. But everybody's use case is different. And the other thing is, more and more people are doing more and more things. Like you look at Pete, he's not really, doesn't even really do a laptop anymore, a Mac laptop. He's got that, and you have a keyboard and with a trackpad. That's compelling, but those keyboards aren't inexpensive, and you really want the Apple one. Logitech has a good one too, but so and that being said, the rumors are that possibly in the fall, the new M6 MacBook Pro will have touch display, but it's still a laptop because there's those touch displays that were kind of like you could fold them back and it'd be like the Slate, I think it was, that Microsoft had, where it goes from a laptop into essentially a tablet. And that's like a pickup truck. It's not a great car, and it's not a van. So, but again, I think you have to look at your use case scenario. What are you going to do? For me, the iPad mini gets used all the time. Now, questions about whether you go with the regular iPad or the iPad Air. The chips all in those are all fairly good, and you want to make sure it's an M series chip so you can get Apple Intelligence, and especially once Gemini rolls into it. But Randy also asked the question about cellular or not cellular. So I use my mini so much that I purchased the cellular version. Now, just because you paid the extra $120 or whatever it is for the cellular chip, if you're going to use that, you then have to get a plan with your provider. and that can be anywhere from $10 to $25 for unlimited data, depending on how your plan does it. I will point out, I think it was Keith McMahon that doesn't use an iPhone when they travel, but they want GPS. So on the iPad, if you're going to use GPS, you have to get the one with the cellular chip because they're combined into one chip. Now, it doesn't mean you have to have a service. You just have to do it because it'll still get the satellite. And the alternative is if you get an iPad that's Wi-Fi only, you tether or you set your phone up as a hotspot. And it's gotten so good that it's virtually automatic these days. But so don't feel compelled if you're going to be occasionally doing it. Oh, and I should point out that there is rumor that the new M6, um, the M, the M6 laptop coming out may have it in. El, you had a comment. Go ahead.
No, in regards to the use of a if you're going to make a decision on buying an iPad mini, a Wi-Fi only as opposed to the cellular model, uh, I find when I travel, I really, really want to have GPS built into my iPad. The Wi-Fi only model does not have built-in GPS. The
Right.
cellular version
Yeah,
does.
that's what I'm saying. It has to have the cellular chip because they're together.
Yeah,
But you don't have,
don't buy
but
the
you,
Wi-Fi. I would
go ahead.
suggest buying the cellular version as opposed to buying the Wi-Fi only version.
If you're only going to use it, if you're okay, so let's go back to that. So only if you're going to need cellular, like if Al hands it to Mary to do navigation for something, or Keith and Mary do that in their case. But remember that if it's hooked to Wi-Fi, it's going to get approximate GPS location by that if it doesn't have the GPS chip in it, but not so much that you can navigate with it. And it does not, it tethers to the phone to get a connection to the internet, but it doesn't use that for anything else on there. So, you think about how long you have them, what your use case may be. I mean, there's a lot of people that hardly ever, they use their iPad occasionally, or they use it back at the hotel when they're watching movies. Hey, that's fine. To me, and as Alice pointed out too, it's so portable that I have it with me everywhere. It sits in my car. Like when I go, I mean, I have to charge sometimes for 10 minutes. I'll whip out well, I can use my screen in the Tesla, but I just usually whip out my iPad and I'm doing stuff there like that. So, yeah, but remember, it's easy to tether, and you can tell it to your phone to automatically connect to that if it doesn't find other Wi-Fi. So it's really painless, and you have to make sure that in whatever plan you have with your cellular provider, that hotspotting is allowed, and there may be a certain amount of data that you can use. Most plans will do it, but you want to check because that's what you have to do. Otherwise, you need to get the cellular one. And again, these add-on plans for tablets and stuff, they're $20 average per month. Great question on that. And I think the size, it's all about ergonomics. It's how you're going to store it, how you're going to carry it. Do you want it that big or not? And I'll bring up one last thing. When the iPads first came out, I got a regular size iPad. There was no mini. And there were all these keyboards out there. I don't know if Apple had one at the time, but Logitech and all these. And so I got the iPad and I couldn't make up my mind. I was in paralysis. There wasn't AI to tell me which one was the best. So I was holding off. I had 4 different keyboards I was thinking about. Well, thank goodness I had to think about it a lot. And once I used the iPad with the on-screen keyboard and dictation, why the hell do I need a keypad? So to this day, I think I owned one for my mini and I never use it. So, it's the keyboards are pretty good, and with input and everything else, I would and if you get an iPad just like on an iPhone, your first purchase, and I always order mine before it arrives so I can put it on when I take it out of the box, a tempered glass screen protector, a 9H tempered glass screen protector. They're cheap on Amazon. They're expensive if you buy them in the store. My preferred brand is Spigen, Spigen, and you can get them from Amazon. And I take the plastic off my phone and that goes on. And then also, I have on my iPad the smallest, thinnest case that offers protection. You wanted a plastic shell around it because the more portable it is, the easier it is to drop. And then it's just got a magnetic thing that comes over the top, and I can fold it up and it can set it like an easel and hold it, do whatever I want. And a little trick to that, when you're on an airplane, if you have the tray table, you can slide it back behind the tray table and let your iPad hang right there. Or on the newest ones where there's like a slot up there, I let it sit down in there and I don't have to hang on to my iPad because my arms would get weary for long flights, you know.
Also
Did
fits
Randy, did that
comfortably.
answer it for you? Who had another input there? Who?
Well, what do you think the new little computers that Apple has mentioned might replace those iPads? Because
Yes,
they would come with a keyboard, I would think.
well, they all come, yeah, and a keyboard and particularly a trackpad.
Yeah.
So Mary, that's a good. Somebody else had a comment though on the iPads here, and and then we'll go into the new stuff. Al, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, the iPad Mini and the 11-inch, believe it or not, fit comfortably in your Scotty vest.
Yeah,
Always a consideration. My
Scotty
little
Vest is
Mini,
the best.
eh,
Yeah.
indispensable for travel.
Yeah, I mean, for other reasons. Okay, quick little Scotty Vest hype. Scotty Vests they make jackets, they even make underwear, they all this, but it's wonderful for travel because I get the thinnest Scotty vest there is because I can always put other things on for warm, but if I'm in warm countries, I don't want to have a thick Scotty vest. So a Scott E vest. And Al will be putting. I see him going for the link right now. So Scott E vest. They used to go to Macworld. That's where I got exposed to them the first time, and it has multiple zippers, and for travel, it's incredible because everything is a zippered closed pocket. Believe it or not, I have one Scotty vest where in my back I can put a MacBook Pro. And they're getting really tight on these carry-on, especially in different countries now. So I can take my MacBook Pro and put it in my Scotty vest. I have my iPad mini in my right chest pocket. I have my iPhone in my left chest pocket. Of course, I have a power pack, to handle all this stuff. But when I go through the security check, I take my Apple Watch off. I take everything out of my pockets. I put it into a zippered pocket in my Scotty vest. So now I have nothing. I wear a plastic belt, but if you need to take it off, you can. You could stick it in the Scotty vest. But I put everything in a zippered pocket in the Scotty vest, and I simply put it on there. I breeze right through. I'm done. Now, when I get out of security, I will put my Apple Watch back on my wrist, but I leave everything else that was in my pockets, my wallet, my change, my throat lozenges, whatever. And I leave them in the Scotty vest because you're getting on an airline seat. If you put them back in your pockets, you're going to lose stuff out of your pocket. So I just have my Scotty vest right there. I get whatever I need. And it's only when I get out of the cab at my hotel that I might take the stuff out of my Scotty vest because, and the other thing is, I have a routine. My iPhone is always in my left chest pocket. my iPad and passport are actually, my iPad and passport are in my right pocket, or my passport is in my inside pocket in my Scotty vest. So I get through security, I touch my left chest, I touch my right chest. It looks like I'm, praying or something, but I just touch those. There, that's all I need. That's all my important stuff, and I move on. And if it's not there, it's like, oh man. So and there are other vests out there, but the Scotty vest has multiple pockets. In fact, one of the Scotty vests I have has 23 pockets, and there's in one of the pockets is a little on a bungee cord is a lens wipe cloth, and on the back of that lens wipe cloth is a map to the different pockets, so you know where the pockets are in your Scotty vest. Yeah, it's awesome. All right, good point, Al. All right. So and that's travel, and I'll tell you, we're out of our element, and it gets frenetic when you're traveling, but it gives you such peace of mind to know everything's there. And it just, man, and you have to
Anything
have a
to,
routine for it.
yeah,
What, Al?
anything to reduce the anxiety of travel.
Yeah, because you're
Yeah.
just in a weird environment, and
Yeah. Yeah.
you're
Things.
rushed when you're putting your bag on the thing because there's, we're conscious you people behind us, and just kind of, and it's safer. So, and actually, that's the thing in pickpocket situations. Yeah, I mean, it's amazingly safe. Okay, well, so this kind of brings up some of the new products. So I'm going to share my screen, and Al, you can give some input on this too, because I know you've studied the new products here extensively
Yeah.
already.
If
And
if people want to, I would refer them to the beginning of the chat. I posted a whole bunch of quick analysis of the different products and some of the key features and stuff. So for when the PDF comes out, take a look at that if you want something in depth.
yeah, and
And
he'll
there's
get
also
the PDF will come out, and you'll be able to get all the links. So I'm sharing. So let's go to apple.com. And they actually didn't do any big keynote or anything on it, but we're just going to do this in the order they have it on the screen. So they have the new MacBook Neo. Now, the Neo, and this is a pretty amazing little computer. It's like the old MacBook. We had the black MacBook that was a 12-inch computer, and it only had like two USBs. So this isn't if you're doing heavy lifting. This is designed to compete with all the like the Chromebooks and things like that. So the MacBook Neo is starting at $599. Now, if you have someone that's in education, they're offering it for $499.
Oh.
So and there's only two ways to get it, and we'll talk a little about it. So you can get it as 25 256 gigabytes and 512 gigabytes. And these days with iCloud, you don't need as much storage as you, but this is not for pro users. Now, the price difference between the two, so it's $599 for the, oh, I got to pick a color. Oh, we might as well pick yellow, okay? So if with between the two, it's $100 more to get twice as much memory. But I do want to point out one thing. You're also getting Touch ID. Let's see if it shows. There's Touch ID versus, that's not it, versus this one. It's $100 more for more memory, but you're getting the fingerprint ID, which those of you that use this know it's worth $100. It it it's so you go to a website and you touch that, it's stored your fingerprint ID, and it fills your password in for you. So the difference between the two models is not just the amount of storage space it has, it's the fact that you get instead of this is just a button in this case, where here it's a fingerprint reader. And it's great for doing Apple Pay, all kinds of things like that.
What's
So
the size?
it's a 13, let me,
Thir- It's 13
13
inch.
3, 13 E.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a 13-inch, and it's really thin, really lightweight. And then it's really interesting here, and this should be of note if you get it. First, it's got a headphone jack, and I wondered what this was. That's actually a speaker, believe it or not. And the front one here is USB-C. They're both USB-C, but this one is only 2.0, and this one is 3.0. So it's faster USB. And in fact, either of these, you could charge it. You use the USB to charge it. So remember, one's going to be a charger, and then you might have to get a hub or other things like that. Once you get up into the MacBook Pro, you have 3 Thunderbolt 4 or 5 ones. You have a headphone. So pretty neat little
And
device.
I believe you can also hook up an external monitor.
Yes, very good. You can do one external monitor and have this one run that. And remember though, it's going to be plugged in direct, so you would need to get a dongle, because if you have it plugged into one and you're charging, you've taken up both of them. Okay? So, and I'm not going to play their little video because it'll shut us off from it might be a copyright thing. So, the iPhone 17e replaces the old SE and all that, and it's it's a pretty capable phone. This is about when they just do it. It's only got one camera on it, so it's if you're just taking snapshots and things like that, it's pretty good little phone. And the carriers will be offering great incentives on this, and it's going to be, well, let's pick a color. We'll pick pink on this one since we picked yellow. So it starts at $599 and $799. And that's again almost, it's the same memory, which is ironic, the phone having the same memory as that laptop.
Does that replace the SE?
Yes.
Okay.
So in fact, if we go to phone, we'll see here's all the Apple phones. This is the current lineup.
Mhm.
So the 16 still there. Oh, and you know what? This is a great tool if you're wondering about phones. It's there all the time, where you do a comparison and you pick the 17 Pro Max versus the iPhone Air versus the iPhone. Oh, there it is. 17. Well, we'll do the 17e. And then it just goes down and gives you all the specs. So, and unlike the SE, it does not use the fingerprint reader. Um, it uses the Face ID. And as we go through this, if there's any questions, don't hesitate. But that compare thing is very useful. Okay. And like I said, there'll be some carrier incentives. So they did update the MacBook Pros. Now, there's no change to the actual physical MacBook Pro, but they put in the new chip, and the new chip is very powerful. Pretty amazing. So, but if you're a MacBook Pro person, it's and I think they raised the price just minimally. Just so you're aware, because of all this drive that AI is buying up all these computers, memory pricing has gone up dramatically, threefold. It's 3 times what it was. Because Apple does something unique, the M series chips, the memory, the RAM, is not a separate piece. So Apple has been able to secure the contracts, and they haven't had to raise prices yet on it. When they do the M6, they think they'll raise it a little bit or here, but they had secured future contracts on it because Apple gets so much of it. But regular computers, and in the future, it's going to be a big deal because all of that, there's only three major companies that make the storage memory, which is different from the actual chip. So the chips are still going to be in short supply, but it's not a problem affecting Apple. So, and Apple is sourcing all kinds of different ones. TSMC is building a chip fab factory here in the US, and they built one in Vietnam. So anyway, the MacBook Pros, basically the 14-inch, it's $1,000 more to get the 16-inch. They are, well, part of that's because the 16-inch, it starts at the M5 Pro, where you can get the regular M5 in the 14-inch. But other than that, the chips are exactly the same. In the current version, or the previous version, they were the same chip offerings. And then there is a nano screen you can choose. Let me hit this and see what it says. Oh, it's not. Oh, I think it's only in the 16 maybe. No, oh, that's weird. So you can get the nano texture. It's just a glare-free display. Again, new MacBook Pros are rumored for the fall. So we move on. And this is, again, these are the last two of what was announced the first 3 days of this week, I think it was, or last week. So the MacBook Air is, so we have the new MacBook. We have, this is existing MacBook Air, but with the M5 chip, right? Is that Al? They didn't change the chassis on this one, did they?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So it's just the M5 chip, which is a powerhouse. And you can see here 13-inch at $10.99, and the 15-inch is $12.99. And so if you pick one, then you're going to pick the chips. And I guess it's not letting me yet. And then the amount of storage. It's weird. Oh, maybe because I haven't picked a color. Okay. I'll pick midnight. There we go. So the chip, the difference in price is $100 on the chip, and it's, most people, it's amazing. MacBook Airs used to be really underpowered, and you wouldn't want one and couldn't do many displays, but you can support two external displays now, and they've become very powerful. But when you do a comparison, they're not as, I'll just pick this one. Um, then you can go how much memory. Oh, that's interesting. So you edit. This is RAM internal storage. But the MacBook Air is really, with the M series chip, is pretty darn powerful. But I compare it to the MacBook Pro, and the weight turns out not to be that much difference. So you go in here and you can do all your configurations with your storage and your memory and all that. So pretty good. Uh, you can get you pay a little bit extra for a quicker charger is all it is.
It's
Charging
pretty good
for it.
value. I think power for
I think
price.
it's a great value. And and then what I would interesting to do is I always go to the comparison thing. So if we go to Mac and we go to laptops, oh, here we go, compare. So if I take here's a Neo, a MacBook Air, and a 14-inch, and we'll go down, you can see the screen size differences. And then biggest thing here, memory requirements you can configure. They all have Touch ID. Well, only the 512 model in this one on the Touch ID, but size and weight. So 2.7 pounds. So the Air and the Neo are the same weight. And it's what, 7/10 of a pound more on the, just 2/3 of a pound more on that. And I was going to look at, the display. Here we go. External display ports so that you get two USB-C high and low speed, two Thunderbolts versus three Thunderbolts with an HDMI. And I actually love this XDX card slot. So I actually have a 1 terabyte, or no, I have a 2 terabyte memory card in here, and I have a special holder, Al. If you want, it sits flush so it doesn't stick out, and I can use that at any time.
No,
Do you have one on yours?
Not yet. No.
Yeah, are you running a 14 or a 16 or?
I'm using. I have a 14 inch M4 MacBook Pro.
Yeah, so the SD card slot, I have a little. I use a mini SD and the holder fits in that and fits flush in the thing. If you ever want to get that
Yeah.
info, it's really cool. I'm just trying to look on just how many displays that it does. The MacBook Air, I think, can do two. Yeah, it can do two at least, and then the MacBook Pro can support up to 3 or 4. So just so you know. All right, we have a question. Go ahead, Iceman.
Ken, were you saying they're going to upgrade the MacBook Pros in the fall? Are the rumor is correct?
Yeah, that's the rumor, and it'll
Okay.
be a new chassis, and a new and the rumors are that and a touch screen, and that will probably be the first M6 chip in the new architecture of the chip. Al, does that ring with what you've heard?
Yeah, that's what I've read as well. This is some high end stuff. It'll be the first model that they integrate the touch into the Mac OS, but we'll have to see what the actual implementation is because they're two different use cases.
Yeah.
They this whole experiment was tried a long time ago and with Microsoft and stuff, and Steve Jobs poo-pooed it along when the idea first came out a long time ago. I'm sure they had some built in their research labs and stuff, but they're just different use cases for me. So it'll all come down to they got to rewrite the software for a touch interface and then slap it on top of Mac OS and what are the design interactions that I'm sure they could figure it out, but the proof is in the pudding. We'll have to see what OS evolutions
Well,
come our
and
way.
the OSs are merging so close to each other anyway, in spite of that.
Mhm.
I think that really holds to it. But the thing is that it's it yeah,
It's
there's
going to be a premium product, that M6,
yeah,
and
and to me, the
small
touch the
niche people.
the touch part isn't attractive to me. What's attractive to me, if it's a new frame that's lighter and just if there's more going on with that. Because I'm currently on an M1. We're
Oh,
talking right now on an
Eh,
M1
Yeah,
14-inch
and
Mac.
plenty robust. You know.
And yeah, it
Yeah,
it's fine. And I'm running two monitors off of it. My
yeah.
my dream years ago was, as they made the trackpad bigger, because our trackpad is glass now, and it has been for a while. And believe it or not, when you click it, you're not really clicking it. The haptic feedback is actually, I think the new Neo has a real clicking trackpad. But what it is if you completely shut your machine down and you press your trackpad, it does not click or go up and down. That's haptic feedback. And so since it's just this glass thing, my feeling was, oh, well, why don't we do like they did the touch bar? I went even before the touch bar came out. I said, make that a display and we would have like a drawing tablet, and you could have pen input on it, but they never did that. So
So,
Yeah,
I
it's
got I have an M2. I'm a filmmaker, so video editing. You think an M6 chip is going to increase its usability? Just loose figures. I know
Yeah.
I
It
can read up.
if you're doing high end promotion, that kind of involved editing, you might get but a lot of it depends on your specific workflow. I think you have a plenty capable machine in the M2, and these things, they have a. I'm plugging along with my M1 like Ken,
Okay.
and I have a Mac Studio M1, and running a whole bunch of monitors, and it's been
Okay.
plenty robust. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't agonize over it unless you somehow in your workflow there, Thomas, hit a wall,
Okay.
that you need a few more seconds, for something you want a
Yeah.
shorter
Yeah.
length of time for something to render, or
Right.
if you're running a whole bunch of things all at once and stuff.
Okay.
I'd be, wait and see, and don't jump on it yet. They'll
Right.
it's a new device, and like all
Right.
uh, first devices, there may be some wrinkles that
Right.
have to unfold, and people will get it in their hands, and there'll be reviews, and give you some better
Okay.
information to make your buying decision.
All right.
Uh, you got plenty of power in that M2,
well, and
in my opinion.
it's interesting. I was doing some deep dive research about the chips, the M5s, and what they were doing, like, because now they have the Pro, the Max, or they have different chip levels. If we go here, we'll see it. And it turns out that they have the Max, but they're coming out, they may come out with another one. And instead of two of the M5 chips hooking together, because anytime they communicate with one another, it's slower. They're talking about stacking them or something. There's some stuff on that. So that may come to fruition. And, everything's so bloody fast now because of the SoC, silicone on a chip, or system on a chip. Everything's together now, which, people hated it because they said, oh, we can't do our own memory upgrades and all that other stuff. Well, but it's turning out, and I mean, it's amazing
It's
because they're just not breaking. It's just they're working. So yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, it all depends on your workflow. Um, I don't know if the M6. It's one of those things. Don't get it before you need it.
Oh no, no.
yeah,
I get
yeah,
that. I just didn't buy enough memory initially, so I only got
yeah, yeah.
16 gigs, and I'm thinking I feel
Wait,
happier
how
with
many? How
30,
much do you have? What do you have?
16.
Yeah, if you're
Yeah,
doing it, it could be challenging, and that's one of those you don't. That's one of those buying decisions that I agonized over, and I actually set my first Mac Studio back.
Oh,
And uh, having onboard RAM, it that makes a lot of difference in
right.
in your
Okay.
processing. Every day and it gives you a lot more flexibility to do a lot more things. So
Okay.
if that's an area where you might want to spend more money on. Firsthand experience that the limitations of that 16 gig,
Right.
and that might definitely influence your buying decision, I would think.
All
Um,
right.
yeah, and but again, that's in video, and you're a pro user,
Right.
and
No,
and
I
the
get
other
it.
thing
right.
is, but because the storage is so fast and nearby, they're doing that swapping better than they ever had. I mean, it's
Oh
not
yeah.
like an old spinning hard drive or even an external. So the communication, it's better, but if you're hitting up against it all the time, yeah, yeah.
Well, I
But
just picked it up for cheap. It was a passion buy. It was pretty inexpensive at that point, and I do run into the wall a bit. So,
yeah.
all right. Oh, and on the mini, I use my mini even for some video record. It is absolutely fat iPad mini. It is fabulous. Always at my side. So I
Well,
concur.
yeah, and the newest one is what, the A18 chip or something. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just amazing. All right, the last of the iPads that are well, this was the only new iPad that was just released, and it's the iPad Air. And we'll just do a quick overview on that. So an 11 and a 13. And the iPad Air has the M series chip, where the regular iPad has a little bit lesser chip in it. So we'll just hit the 11 here and we'll say, let's do this color. And then you have storage choices. And again, storage choices are important. You can look how much yours is currently using, and you don't want to bump into having storage problems. On the iPhone, especially, because you're doing a lot of photos and videos, but luckily with your iCloud syncing and stuff, but you just see what your use case is on what you have, and that's the barometer. Then we go down here, and for $150 more, you can get the cellular. Now remember, the cellular, in addition, if you want to use it with cellular, you can buy a plan. But just like the Apple Watch, the cellular version of the Apple Watch, you don't have to get a plan, and it can call 911. In this case, it's not about calling anywhere because you don't call. It's about getting it so you have a GPS but you can always tether it to your phone. But it is 150 more. But it really, the plan to me is very reasonable. And I think T-Mobile even has a $10 a month plan where you can tag it on. So
I think the iPad
let's
Air, the M4, it's a pretty good value, I think,
yeah.
at that price point.
So this just talks about the difference between the Wi-Fi and the cellular. Again, yeah, the whole thing about tethering to the phone is really, really easy these days. And of course, it's LTE. And you could get a separate carrier on it, but it's usually a better deal if you tie it into one of your existing carriers. Or if you're traveling internationally, you can always just get a SIM card for it. So, um, any question? Oh, Rich, go ahead.
Well, this is a question apart from Apple products. It has to do with the T-Mobile tracker. I wonder if anybody has any experience with the T-Mobile tracker.
And that's, yeah. And what's your question about it?
Well, is it any good?
Well, and that's the one that is the hotspot, the Wi-Fi hotspot.
No, no, it's like the
Oh, it's like the AirTag. Okay.
it's like the AirTag, yeah.
Yeah. So the okay, good question. The tracker is it uses the cellular network, where the Apple tags use Bluetooth. And we'll talk about how that works. So obviously, anywhere you have a cell signal, this will work. The Apple AirTag works by any Apple phone that's within 50 feet of it. It will transmit its location anonymously through someone else's phone. Okay. So we'll just talk about suitcases. So I put in AirTag in my suitcase. And if it's around my house, I can find it. If it's at somebody else's house, I can go find it really easy because my phone's nearby, and it'll even directionalize it. But when it goes into an airplane, and at some point, if it's near a baggage handler, or or even if somebody's in the plane and it's in the cargo hold, and they have an iPhone, even if you're not on that plane or you're not near it, it will transmit its location. Again, it does it anonymously through the person's phone and they don't know it. And that's okay because it's no data. It's just pinging this little, and it's an encrypted code of where its location is. But it has to be, and it does Bluetooth. Bluetooth, ultimately, the range is about 100 feet, but realistically, it's 30 to 50 feet is the distance. So as long as it's on the tug taking it out to the plane, and that guy has an iPhone or somebody else does, it's gonna keep sending its location when it finds an iPhone. Doesn't have to, the iPhone just has to be, it can be asleep in somebody's pocket, but it'll do this. And then if if for some reason it gets somewhere where there's no people within 100-foot radius with an iPhone, it won't be able to send its new location. But when you're tracking it and stuff, it can tell you where it last was, and you can tell it when you do Find Me, you can tell it um, to to send you an update for the location. So it works in almost all cases, but remember, there's no service fee for an AirTag. There's simply the $20 to $25 you pay for the AirTag itself, and the battery, of course, in it that lasts. It does a really good job lasting about a year. So I hide them in my suitcase, and I've even been tempted at times to put two of them on it so that one is very visible, and if they stole it, they could do it. I'm going to do that on my camera bag actually, because I have a hidden one and then that because of the anti-stalking thing. If it's with you, it might say somebody that is not somebody's AirTag that is not yours is following you. So that was an anti-stalking thing. Now, again, T-Mobile here, the service starts at $5 a month, and it does cellular. So I really think that you look at how important it is for it to be tracked easily all the time. That would trigger this. I think on an elderly dementia patient or a young child, I think that's a good thing because an AirTag is a little bit different and it's not always available. So does that answer your question on the tracker? If anybody has used this tracker or any of the cellular ones, you can go ahead and pipe in. I haven't used these, and I use the AirTags a ton.
Yeah. Well, that's helpful. Um, they were on special for $1, but I don't remember a monthly fee for it. So that's
Yeah,
news to me.
yeah, that's why it was free. That was why it was $1. Because it's using it uses what's called the sideband. So let's just see if we can. I didn't even look into it because AirTags work for me. And again, the battery may not, the battery won't last as long as the AirTag um, because it's transmitting in cellular. So full price 54. Wow, megabytes. That's weird.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it's not. Oh, here we go. Talk time, standby. Oh, and you know what? It's got a microphone. So is it good if you fall? No, that's just for finding it. Light sensor, speaker, SOS alerts. So you could probably use it to call 911 or something if you needed. Very similar to the Apple Watch and all that.
It's
Live
a USB-C
location.
charging. Is that a
Uh,
Yes.
misprint up there?
yeah, there's
UBC.
a charging cable. So it's got a battery in it that's rechargeable.
Okay.
Here we go.
Words.
But again, that's the important time. Talk time. It says standby time, but it doesn't tell us how much. Oh, 10-day battery life, up to 10 days. Durable and waterproof, IP67. So yeah. I think it's it's interesting. The AirTags, and like the other thing is, like, for bicycles, can hide it in the seat post and all that other stuff. I think AirTags are great. And actually, the only problem is an AirTag, the round thing is too big to fit in your wallet. So there are other brands that are AirTag compatible. In other words, they work on the Apple Find Me network. I use one, I think it's from Rhinoceros, and I got it on Amazon. I'll pull that up. Let's see. Smile. Go to orders. I'll type Rhino. Yeah, here it is. So two of them, and they're different because they have a flat battery in them and you recharge them. And I think it's good. So they're about the same price as an AirTag. One is there, but they're credit card size, and they can fit in your wallet or anywhere else you want because you don't have that big bubble battery, and they just recharge with the USB. And my battery, I haven't had it show up, and I don't think I've charged it at all. So, and they work on the Find My network, so that's what's nice about them. Rhino Key is what it is,
Oh, okay.
and it's certified with Apple.
Oh,
So
good. That's fine. Yeah.
yeah, I forget. In the research I found, it was the one I got, and it gets really good reviews, and I've been happy with. So they're about 25 bucks each. Kind
Aha.
of good thing. Let's see.
And,
Let's see how
and they last a year. Is that the?
I think it said that. Let me look here.
Oh, it's rechargeable.
Oh, 5 months. No, yeah, it's rechargeable by the not a cable. It's the magnetic. So the G
Mhm.
charger. Yeah, and it says 5 months. So I don't think I've charged mine. And actually, let's see, I purchased it August 3rd, and I don't think I've charged it. I'll have to check it. I'll try on my Find My to see if it's still active. Hang on. Find
Eh,
My items. Rhino. Oh, so I keep one in my passport case, and I keep one in my wallet. Actually, I don't even have it in my passport case. I have it taped to my passport. So, yeah, and it's my passport's right here. So, yeah, I bet I need a charge, and it probably notified me, and I didn't know it. So I'm gonna. This is a good reminder. I'll put it on the charger, on the wireless charger. All
I'm
right,
gonna have to get one of those.
I love it. It's peace of mind. So one's in my wallet and one's in my taped to my passport. Got to have all the tricks.
Yeah, gotta have all the tricks.
All right, let's go.
Hey, thanks, guys.
You bet. Let's go to the keynote. And thanks for Al for setting this thing up. We're going to talk about the Apple services. And let me just go full screen. And I can hit the red dot or enter full screen. So yes, we started recording finally. And this was Steve Jobs' birthday was just recently. Pete McDonough, go ahead and go ahead. You've raised your hand. Go ahead and ask your question.
Just a quickie. I wish I had one of them things for my eyeglasses, them trackers or whatever.
Yeah, I'm trying to think about that. You could probably get those, like the devices that your glasses hang from, around your neck. And
Yes.
you could get an air tag in one of those.
I also would like a chip in my ear with all my credit card info.
Well, why do you need your credit card info when you pay for stuff?
All my credit cards are black now. I'm losing my eyesight. It's hard to read what the hell they are. So I took white magic marker or white paint, and I've got it painted WM,
Okay.
Sam's Club. But every credit card is black. All the printers are black. When you go to buy clothes, they're all black. People on bicycles wear black.
Yeah, they're stealthy, and that's the problem. Wow. Well, I don't, well, you know what? These, there's some hope on the horizon because of these new glasses, like Meta has the glasses, and there was the old Google glasses. And these cameras will be able to see it and tell you what it is. Like, well, for instance, um, there's a thing when I work with the sight impaired people, there's an app where you can hold it up on the phone, you hold it up to money, and it tells you what the denomination is. But the iPhone has the capability to read you that information and do it audibly if you want. So we can explore that because the accessibility, and it's getting better. But if you use these glass things, it would read to you and let you know what it is and put it into an earbud. So yeah, I mean, the simplest is like you're doing is putting the number on it or a tag or something like that. But there's hope on the horizon.
Thank you. You're amazing.
Oh, thank you. You're my goal because you're how old now, Pete?
I'm 95 tomorrow. I can't believe it. I have to pinch myself.
Gosh, well,
Good
happy
job.
birthday. And remember, 100 is the goal. And look at him. He's hanging with us youngsters like me that's now 70. And we're talking about technology and AI and everything. I mean, what a great time to be alive.
Hey, and
And
you were
Pete's
talking
just
about
Pete's
skiing
hoping that full
before.
self-driving will come out soon.
Hey, you were talking about skiing before. They used to have it free skiing if you were over 90. I don't see that
Oh
anymore.
no, it's over 80 now at
80. Wow.
over 80 at Squaw Valley Palisades, and I think Mammoth also.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I'll see you up there. Mary, go right ahead.
Never mind. I think you answered. Oh no, I was gonna add to Pete. Well, why not add the cards to your wallet and then the secondary
Yeah,
use?
the problem is in the wallet, it only shows you a few of the card numbers.
Yeah, and what do you think about adding your credit cards to Safari?
Well, that's into Apple Wallet, and Safari accesses that, and we're going to go over that a little bit here
Okay.
in a couple of slides with Apple Pay. No, it very, very, I agree. I thought about that initially. So in Apple Wallet, you can see it, but it's not real big either. So,
Yeah.
all right. So we're going to break out here into Apple Care. We talked about this a bit. So I want to drill down if we have it. And I'll tell you, this has been a lot of questions and stuff already. And I think we've covered a lot. And I like that because I was really worried that I wouldn't have enough today. But anyway, so Apple Care and Apple Care One. So Apple Care is on Apple devices where you can, it used to be, depending on the device, a 2 or 3 year warranty, an additional warranty, because Apple's real warranty out of the box is 90-day of tech support and 1 year of manufacturer's defect problems, etc. And then they offered Apple Care, and the original plan was, say you bought a laptop, and it would be a 2 year Apple Care for X amount of money, depending on the level of the computer. And what that did is it took that 90-day of tech support and extended it to the full length of whatever the Apple Care was that you bought. And that was good, even though Apple still really did a good job, even if you had the 90-day but didn't purchase the extra Apple Care. Apple's so good about their customer support. And I got to say, we pay more for our Apple products, but there's a reason, because if you had a Samsung tablet or an Android phone, where is the store you can take it to get hands-on support if you need it? I'm still waiting. Where are they? Yep. No. So
Best
that's
Buy.
that's a big deal. And also Apple knows that costs them a lot. That's why they encourage you to do the phone support and do things like that. So anyway, moving on to Apple Care. So um, I I did this big screen so everybody can see it. So that more recently it was called Apple Care One, if you look down here at the bottom, or Apple Care Plus, excuse me. So you can cover each individual device up to 2 years. Now, the other thing they've done recently is when you buy an Apple product, you can pay, well, and I don't know if they still offer it, but you would pay like $199 to protect your MacBook Pro for 2 years or 3 years. And then after those 3 years are up, they would say, well, do you want to extend it? And they also then came up with an option of doing a monthly fee, and it goes until you cancel pretty much. So you could have a 6-year warranty or whatever it really is. And so that was another way to do it. The newest thing is they've come up with Apple Care One. And so it might make sense if you have multiple devices. So let's look at a scenario. So Apple Care on desktop computers, it's kind of a do I or don't I, you don't know. On a laptop, yeah, it might. And you want to, depending on what level of Apple Care or Apple Care Plus you got, it may or may not cover theft or loss. So, and you have to really look into each of these. But I know for me, because I have an iPhone, an iPad, and uh, AirPods, that it was cheaper for me to go here than to individually insure them. And then each additional one is $6 a month. And it says up to 3 years. Oh, actually, that's my watch is the other. Forget the AirPods. My watch is what's expensive. So up to 3 year for theft and loss, but it will continue on covering you from warranty type, support type things. Unlimited accidents. In other words, you crack the screen on your Apple Watch. The battery just goes after a while, let's say. If you're still in Apple Care, they'll replace it. Priority support and theft and loss. Now, I have to, you need to drill in a little bit more, because like a screen replacement on an iPad or an iPhone, there might be a deductible on it, but it's very reasonable. And it's really to prevent the person that's taking advantage of the situation. So I think it might be valuable for you to look at that. And oh, actually, and if we go here, here is the page with it, and Apple Al, it's just slash Apple Care lowercase is the one, and you had these before, I believe. So it talks about all the different things, dropped, cracked, and then it talks about deductibles. But go through this and really see, and any of your devices you're portable with, it's worthwhile. So, here, like your theft and lost, So it's the phone, you can have Apple Care Plus for $9.99 a month or $99 a year. Oh, that's interesting. That's new. Or it'd be half of what you pay to cover your other devices also. So, but really read up on it. You get priority on support and things like that. Okay, that's Apple Care One. And again, HomePods, Apple TVs, iPads, AirPods. By the way, AirPods have a new thing to be detected where they are and things like that. If you lose your AirPod, use your Find My thing and try find it really, really, really um, uh, uh, quickly before the battery dies. Al, you just sent me a slide thing? Oh, I don't know. We're okay. All right, Randy, go ahead with your question, please.
Yeah, I have the Apple trade-in iPhone program where I traded in, but as part of that trade-in price upgrade program through Apple,
You're
it's
required to
covered
have
with the
Care.
Apple Care. So
Yeah.
would I have to do a different Apple product or would I?
Now, when you find out, let me know.
Okay.
So unfortunately, I didn't get my new phone until I came back from my trip, and I have that same question. So you have homework. And yeah, and let us know. We'll make sure we get it out. But actually, here we go. Hang on. So let's do this. With my Apple iPhone, I use the Apple Upgrade program that requires Apple Care included, comma. How does that affect if I decide to pay for Apple Care One that covers multiple devices, including the iPhone? We'll find out what Grok says. It just searched 100 results in that quick a time. Okay, it's going all through this, and then, oops, hang on. I don't want to. I'm sorry, it was starting to do another one. Okay, to include your one, you can have it alongside request to unbundle. So actually, I can provide a link to this in the chat. Or should I just copy and paste it into chat? So that result was in 1.2 seconds. So I will put that into chat. I have to put T because I didn't copy it. That should be to everyone. Yep. Uh-oh, too many characters. Too many characters. All right, let me see if I can provide the link. I think I can provide the link.
You can only do 1,000 characters.
I saw that. That was
Yeah.
3,400. So I'm going to share the link. And it'll get people into Grok. So if they can click on that. All right. Anyway, that's up there. So Randy, that answers the question. You can request to unbundle, and then you can move it into there and create with Apple One. And I'm glad you asked because I have neglected to do that. So, and then you pick what devices, like for instance, if you don't want your AirPods to be protected for $5.99 a month, you don't put them on your list. But the big ones are the watch, an iPad, a Mac, some sort of MacBook, and your phone. So, all right, cool, good thing, good use of technology to find out the answer. So I did your homework for you, Randy. We'll find something else for you, okay? All right. And now that was Apple Care 1. Not to confuse things, this is Apple 1. So it's virtually the same thing. So you have to understand what Apple's trying to do here is. They're doing this only to try save you money, of course. No, they're trying to get you locked into subscriptions. And I hate subscriptions. But this one saved me money. So if we take Apple Music, which used to be iTunes, Apple TV, which is the service, Apple TV Plus, if you're a gamer, games, iCloud, which is all of our storage and our syncing and everything, the fitness apps, and Apple News. And if you put all those together, in my case, it saved me. No, excuse me. I went from, it was going to cost me all of this stuff I was doing with my extra iCloud space on the level I'm at and everything. I was at $36.95 a month because I have a 2 terabyte plan that I needed to upgrade. But I don't care about the arcade. I don't care about, well, music I do. So since I was doing music, and I don't care about news, but I'm more and more caring about fitness. But it cost me one more dollar to increase my, well, no, I was already paying $36.95 with 2 terabytes. So that was all a wash. So I basically got arcade, fitness, and news for $1 a month more. But if you bundle those individually, it's $32. So I can say, oh man, I'm saving $32 a month. Yeah, it's like the old Deal Mac page used to say, how to go broke by saving money. But I should point out these are individual plans. These allow you to share it with up to 5 people. And over here allows you to share it. Now, when we talk about sharing music, for instance, each person has their own playlists and everything else. In the arcade, they have their own stuff there. They have their own shows they're doing. But the big thing is you're sharing iCloud space, but each person has their own individual thing, and it doesn't cross-pollinate. Your pictures wouldn't show up on someone else that you're in your family sharing with. So, and they don't have to be within your household. There's nothing like that. You could have 5 people in the family. You've got 2 kids and a grandkid sharing with yourself or whatever it is. You're just sharing the fee and the space. So it's an interesting way to do it. So and again, it's putting these all together. And you see here, just if you did iCloud, depending on your level of the iCloud, you're going to save a little bit of money if you do that. So I think this screen is very good for you to calculate what works. Now, you could always throw it into AI too and have it ask questions just like I did about the AppleCare on your own specific need, because some of you might be gamers out there, so that's going to affect you differently than someone else. So any question on Apple One, and it's apple.com/apple underscore, I'm sorry, -1. Any questions on Apple One? Okay. Apple Pay. Now, Apple Pay this came out, when this first came out, It was only on the iPhone. It was incredible. And Chase was one of the first companies that supported it. And what it is so let's think back 10 years ago when it came out, or somewhere around there. And credit cards get compromised in a couple ways. If you go to a service station and you pay at the pump with your card, and let's go back to the old days when the only way we could do it would be to swipe the card, okay? So swiping the card, it's a magnetic strip. Believe it or not, it's just like the old magnetic cassette tapes. It's on your card and it's been embedded with your information, essentially your card number. So it's a way to input your card number. So how a card can get compromised is if they have a skimmer on there, which would be bad because then you're also getting your PIN number and all that other stuff. And that gets transmitted to somebody and they all of a sudden have your card number. Another way, if you're using the swipe, is, for instance, what happened at Target years ago. People would pay with their card, they would swipe, and your credit card number got transmitted over the internet, but through a secure internet to the credit card processor, and then it would come back and charge you. Well, it's my understanding, and I'd have to verify it, but what happened with Target, they're based in Minnesota. They have all their heating and air conditioning for every store is controlled centrally because that's a huge bill for them, these big stores with all that. So they want to manage it and make sure they're not going to make one store cold or anything like that, but they're heating and air conditioning, like with it, they need new filters, things like that. There is an independent service, a company that did all of that for them. And so the stores in the store would send that information to them. Well, somehow through there, a hacker was able to hack in through the HVAC company and get in and intercept the credit card number as it traveled over the internet. So the problem with that is, hey, no problem for us because we have absolution in that anytime your credit card gets compromised, the company takes care of it or whatever. But then they got to send you a new card and do all this. And in the meantime, somebody's making off with millions of dollars. So about the time chips started coming out, but they weren't being used very much, Apple developed the Apple Pay system. And the way the Apple Pay system works, and I'll give you the simplest form first. And actually, there were at Chase Bank, they had 24 employees working for 2 years to get this implemented. And Apple just thought this was the best thing. What happens is, if you go up to a card reader and you have your card stored on your phone in Apple Pay, you have a chip in the phone that recognizes you're there and you pay with Apple Pay. First and foremost, whatever card you use, it's just like you've used the card because you get all the benefits, whether it's a 2% card or you get 10 airline miles for every dollar you spend or whatever it is. That doesn't change. It's just like you physically use the card, or like when I was in high school and we took the credit card at the service station and you ran it because it had a perforated numbers on it, and that way it did it onto that little credit card receipt. So there's no negative to doing it, but the way it works is when you pay with Apple Pay, first of all, it doesn't transmit any of your vital information, and it does not transmit your credit card number. What it does is, in communication with the credit card processor right there, it hasn't gone to Chase Bank yet. It's the credit card processor. It creates, Apple Pay creates a one-time use number. That one-time use number is now what is transmitted through the credit card processor to the bank, and they say, okay, we approve that. And it happens lightning fast. So if for some way there was a hacker to be able to get in there and get in the middle and affect that, no problem. It's a one-time use number, and guess what? It's already been used. So this is a big deal for the banks. The banks are the ones that issue the credit cards, and they're the ones that the fraud, they're the ones that get caught up in it, and they're the ones that lose the money. So they're all for this. So it makes it so they have less fraud going on. And for you, look how convenient it is. And I'll tell you, I rarely have to take my card out of my wallet anymore. So I use my card using Apple Pay on my phone, and I also have it on my Apple Watch. Now, if you feel like a cave person and you really want to go back to the dark ages, sure, you can swipe your card again, but remember you're going to be vulnerable. But there is also a chip in most of the cards now. And that chip does exactly what Apple Pay does. It creates a one-time use code. On the other hand, it does send some of your personal information for demographics, but realistically, whenever you get a chance, use the chip if you're not using Apple Pay. Apple Pay is faster, more convenient, and it's as safe as the chip. The other one where you tap your card is almost as safe as the chip, so I wouldn't worry about that too much. But Apple Pay by far is the safest. So with your phone, all you do is you bring it up and you set it on the terminal, and it will fire up, and then it'll ask you to double tap the side to approve the purchase, and it'll use your Face ID. If it's on the Apple Watch, you have to initiate it. I'll show you that in a second. But I store my cards in Apple Pay. And what you can do too, if you have multiple cards, you have one card set as your default. Like, for instance, most of the time I use my Costco card or my Fidelity card. My Fidelity card is a 2% card, so I use that. When I travel, though, overseas, I then make my Chase Sapphire card my default because there's no international conversion or anything like that. So you can change it to be default, but when it pops up, and I think my next slide has it. Oh, so you can use it on all your devices. And once you enroll your cards in Apple Pay, you'll be able to do it like with Touch ID on your Mac. You'll be able to do it on your iPad and your iPhone. And actually, if you see on the iPhone here, on your Apple Watch, on your iPhone, when you put it by the thing, you choose which card you want, shows you the amount, and then you double tap the side, and that will activate the Face ID. On the Apple Watch, you have to initiate it. You have two buttons. The Ultra has three, but you have the round crown that's a button, and then you have an oval button down here. If you double tap that oval button, it brings up your card, and then once you've double tapped it, you rest it on the card reader, and it will take it like that. And I'll tell you, it's so great because you're not pulling your card out all the time. And the other risk you run with your card pulling it out all the time is you might leave it behind. Now, virtually every other country I've been to, I use my Apple Watch in a restaurant at my table. They bring it to us. The most vulnerable spot we have today is giving your card to a server at a restaurant because you may forget it. They could copy your number. It's out of your sight. And I really, really, a lot of places now will come do it. And anyway, that's how you do it on the, here's like it on a reader. And then I'm going to show this screen. So when you, oh, let me zoom out. So when you use the wallet, like on this, a Touch ID phone will do that. So we're more now with the camera now. But here's what your Apple Wallet is, what contains your card. And they're super easy. You have Apple Pay, you go into your wallet and you set it up, and it doesn't take a picture of your card. It actually turns on the camera and reads your number and everything off of your card, and then you approve it with the bank. Again, now the most important part here is this is stored in what's called a secure enclave on your phone. Someone could disassemble your iPhone and they would not be able to get into where this information is. It is so safe. And remember, your phone is locked because you have to be able to get into it. So, you either have to use a fingerprint or Face ID or your code. So it's super, super safe. You can store other things in there, like your, different cards, or like here is, I tell when so from the American Airlines app or the Southwest Airlines app, I tell the app to add it to my wallet. And when I get to the airport, believe it or not, what happens is it knows by GPS and it will come up with your QR code for your boarding pass if you've done a boarding pass online. If not, it'll be the ticket. So other things can be stored in your Apple Wallet. We're going to finish up Apple Pay and then we'll go on to the wallet because they all tie together. Again, you just tap which card you want. When you pull this up, if I wanted to use a Capital One card, I would tap that with my finger and then it would be the one I'm charging.
How does the pay with Touch ID work?
Well, it doesn't. It does if you have an old phone. Well, actually, on the MacBook Pros or the iPads that have Touch ID, this is showing a phone, so this would have been like an old SE. And when you don't touch the screen, you touch the little button.
Hmm.
So for us, Bob, with Face ID phones, it pops up and shows you this.
Okay.
Shows you this. Double click the side button, and then it activates the camera and approves it with Face ID. The other really cool thing is if you pay with Apple Pay, if you have it set to it, it will show what you charged right then. And the other thing is you can use Apple Pay. You can have on an account, you can pay someone or have them pay you. If, like let's say you're out to dinner and you end up wanting to split the bill, well, you should rush to do the card so you can pay for the whole thing on your credit card so you get miles and get coverage, and then the other person can send you Apple Cash via the Apple Cash card. So that's how you'd want to do it. But in like here's a Face ID one, so it came close and it says done, but the person here had just double tapped it. And you can do debit cards. Debit cards are, you've got to be careful. I mean, you got to watch out for skimmers and stuff like it with the debit cards. So it's highly unlikely your card will get compromised. I mean, it's next to zero if you use Apple Pay. Any other Apple Pay questions before I go back into, oh, and this is the one where it shows you the phone. So with Face ID, you do that. And then here you use the little thing on the phone. And someone can pay you, because if you have a newer phone within the last 4 years, if they have a card, they can pay you. And this goes into your Apple Cash card, not the Apple card, that's a whole different thing, but it goes into the Apple Pay or Apple Pay in there, and then you can have that transfer right to your bank. So it's like a Venmo or one of those, but it's very safe and very secure. So again, you went to dinner with somebody, you decide to split the bill, and they can just do the card and it'll be sensed by your phone and it will go into the Apple Cash, it's called. Any questions on that? Because that's a lot. Okay, so let's go back here.
Yeah,
So
Ken,
Apple Wallet, go ahead.
It's Randy. Which party types in that $17 fee? Who is who? How do you put in the amount to be paid?
Well, okay. Are you talking about when someone's paying you?
Yes.
Yeah, because at obviously at the restaurant or the store, they have the card reader will you don't have to type in anything.
Oh,
And then
okay.
after the transaction, after because it comes up and it says how much it is, but remember, then afterwards you usually have the ability if you enter a tip or something, and that comes up.
Okay.
So that actually you don't have to enter anything there. But if someone's paying you like this, it this is something where you would go in and you say, "Oh, I'm doing." See, this is yeah, this is a weird one because it's not the Apple Pay cash thing. It looks like Grapevine Greenhouse. Well, they may have sent an invoice, but you're able to do on the pay. Gosh, you put in the amount with the transaction with the person, and you just put like $22 for dinner, and then it does it.
Okay.
Yeah, this is more from using a retail one. It's just letting you know that this is the retailer. This is the greenhouse,
Oh, okay.
Grandmother's greenhouse. So it's kind of like a square thing.
And Ken, if I may, Randy, like if you wanted to send me money, you would go to text me. And
Oh,
over to the left, and you tap on the left, and there's a number of choices, and you can put in Apple Pay.
okay. Thank you.
Yeah, and it's really interesting. I just had what's really weird though is like here we have on the Apple user group out here we have what like we used to have down in Grace Cafe. Uh, well, it was triage, and we call it open lab here. The lady was having so much trouble, and one of the other techs did it, and she could not get, she somehow had fiddled with something, and that Apple Cash card went away. The rest of the Apple Wallet was working, but that went away. And I was like, I was so perplexed. I'm going, how come it can't? And I go to add it, and it just won't add it because it had disappeared because it's normally there by default. Well, I used Grok and I said, what's the deal here? And it came back and said, you need to make sure the region is set correctly. And because this lady travels to Mexico off and on, at some point she had changed her region in the iPhone to Mexico. And either they don't support that in Mexico, or the other thing might have been because it was recognizing a conflict of where she was and everything. So we changed the region back. We restarted the phone. Boom, it showed up, and so it was good because she had a person that had $950 waiting to get deposited, and it recovered. So, and I only charged her half of that 950 to get it fixed for her. So the other thing you can do in Apple Wallet is you can now put a copy of your California driver's license and your California, I'm sorry, your passport. Now, I'm going to show you how to do it, but remember, you still need your physical driver's license, and when you're traveling, you still need your physical passport. And what these things do is both of them, when you're setting it up, you'll need your ID. You want to be in a well lit room. Don't worry, it's going to take a picture, but you don't care because it's not there. But actually, it will verify your facial ID with what you have for your license. But the other thing it will make you do is blink, look different ways, and things like that, because it wants to make sure it's not a picture of your face and someone's doing this surreptitiously. So it might take 2 or 3 tries. And for me, on one of them, I can't remember if it was the driver's license one or the other, it said, oh, didn't work. And then I came back to it and it had worked. So be patient, be in a well-lit area, follow the directions. But I'm going to bring my phone up and I'm going to show you how to do it on your phone. Actually, I'm going to do this so I have a black background. There we go. Here we go. It won't let me do it in full screen. Pete, go ahead and ask your question while I'm getting set up.
A bit of short humor. One of the women here had to get a passport photo, and she was all upset because they made her take off her eyeglasses. She said, I've been wearing them for 50 years.
Well, oh, good. Yeah, and good point. And the reason for that is, hang on, because it's checking for live retina or doing a retina scan. I don't think it's a retina scan as much, but it's just like the Face ID on the phone. It's punching in all these things. So what it does, it not only does your eye, it does the other parts around it. And so that would be why that is. And also sometimes glasses will have a reflection. Okay, so come on, connect to my phone. All right. Oh, I gotta unlock it. Okay.
Then when we were doing a knee races and you have a partner that counts, well, my count was way different from hers. So we go to the graduation ceremony. I was the only one that didn't graduate.
There we go. All right. So this is the wallet. So if I click the wallet, I have my cards in here and you can see them. I have the actual Apple Card also. So, with certain Apple products, you get 3%, things like this. And then this is what's called the Apple Cash Card. So that's what you would do it. And then in my wallet, I have, what the heck is that? Oh, this is a transit pass I added at one point. Oh, this was in Japan. It was on the trains. So here's what the California one looks like. And I can hit information and I don't want to click this because Google may get us because it's personal information on the video that YouTube doesn't like that. But that's what it looks like. So I'm gonna hit the X. No, it doesn't get rid of it. And then here is the passport information. And same thing. And it gives me the physical. So the way to do this is if I hit the plus sign, if you're on the newer one, first, here's how you would add a debit or credit card. You would click here and it's going to ask you to hold the card up to take a picture of it. Then you go through, it'll make you manually enter the CVV code, and then it will communicate with your bank and come back. And then once you've got it in Apple Wallet on one of your devices, I add it to my watch. You go into the watch app for that. I have it in Safari on my others and things like that. And a little key in Safari, when I have them in my wallet, I name my card, and in the name, I put the expiration date and the CVV code number, because sometimes it doesn't autofill that. And that way I still don't have to yank my card out. Just a little key on that. You can't really do that on this device. You can add transit cards, like I said, that would be for different places. I use that in Croatia. We were getting on a little trolley thing, and you could do that. And then the other one is add driver's license or digital ID. So the United States would be add your passport, and then in here you would do the California one. And give yourself time when you do it, and you may have to do it a couple times, and there's an approval process. Just stick with it and understand that it's high levels of security is why they're doing this. So if you ask Grok, what's the deal here? How many websites does it consult? There's different levels of Grok too. Just for my Grok, it's going and
Yeah,
getting.
your question was just so general. I thought, how does it, what deal? Poor Grok is trying to figure out what your question really is. I know you asked it a more specific question than that, but I just was imagining Grok trying to deal with what's the deal here?
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
That's what Pete Carroll asked Jim Harbaugh 15 years ago. What's your deal?
well, we'll go into that right here when I finish this in a sec. But the other part of that is, for instance, I wouldn't go in and ask Grok about menopause because I don't want that in my profile, because I don't want it. I'm all of a sudden it's gonna do things like that. So what you do is you open up a private session, and that way it doesn't go into its building your profile. And I mean, I don't mean that. It'd be like, well, the other thing is, so I don't drive a gas car, and I would, look on there and say, well, how do I do an oil change on a 350 Chevy V8? Or where's the oil filter, or what oil filter do I need? So I would ask that in private because I don't want that to become part of my profile. And to one step back on that is, a year ago I was up in Bend, Oregon. I organized the ski trip up there, and I always use this one example because it was profound. I wasn't able to ski, and I'm still having mobility issues, but not as bad as it was. So there was a full lunar eclipse that night, and I said, find me a location with less than 100 yards walking where I can photograph the total lunar eclipse tonight. Actually, we just had one, and it found me 3 spots. I went to them. It was great. So the next night, I said, find me around Bend, Oregon, where a good sunset location is, and it gave me 5 of them, and it had mentioned that because of walking. And the main reason I did it in the beginning is for the lunar eclipse up in the mountains around Bend. I didn't want it to send me on a 5-mile hike. I would have never been able to do it. So it remembered that, and I remember 6 months later I was going up to Lassen, and I was looking for a location to just get a shot there and stuff, and it said, oh yeah, with your mobility this. And I said, okay, open it up to 300 yards because I was doing better and stuff. So that's the kind of advantage to having it in an account. But don't search for things like, lo and behold, if I go searching for Windows type advice for someone, I don't want it to be on mine. Anyway, so we found this in Wallet, and another place to get into Wallet is, let's see, we got to go to the main screen. If we go into settings, you can go down to Wallet in settings also. We went to the Wallet app, and by the way, to activate the Wallet app on your phone, you double tap the button on the right side and it pops up. But here is the whole Apple thing, and here's where you can name the credit cards. You can make one a default, or you can go here and say add cards. And the autofill is like if I'm buying something on my phone, I say, yeah, autofill the information from those cards. So, oh, like hide expired passes. Now that's a good one. If I'm going to turn that off for right now, and we're going to go into Apple Wallet. And you'll see that I have, here, get your guide. I use that when I travel a lot, and I have it saved to my Apple Wallet. That was for, that was in Saigon for the Sky Tower. I think I have one here that was probably in, Tasmania, Mount Hobart. So those are expired ones, and I just tell it to hide them. There is my Cathay Pacific Hong Kong to Barcelona to Hong Kong, and of course it doesn't. So that's a setting in Apple Wallet settings. And I'll turn that back on to hide expired ones. That didn't used to be an option, and it kind of got it up. Okay, perfect. And then you can do order tracking if you want. And then this is Apple Pay. It'll tell you from merchants, and they'll tell you when it's shipped and things like that. So
And
any app, go ahead.
I was gonna say, and another convenient thing is if you put like $50 in your Apple Cash from you have to have it hooked up to your checking account. But then for those, $5 purchases, like I know our bakery doesn't take cash. You can just use that so you don't have to reconcile all the little, 3.99s and all that if you're a
Right.
reconciler.
Yeah. So in other words, you're using it like a credit card, but it's just pulling it out of your Apple Cash. And actually, in my case, I get, since I use the Apple Card for certain things, I don't use it for my everyday card, but like my Apple subscriptions, I save 3% or something like that, and
Yeah.
so my reward is instant, and it goes to the Apple Cash when I'm getting my reward on my Apple when using the Apple Card. I know that's confusing.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but
very
it's
good.
just handy. It turns out to be very
It's
handy.
handy, it's safe and secure. The last little cool story about that is when I was in Antarctica, the a lady we were on Falkland Island in this whaling station, and the post office actually had some of the best shirts and hats and everything. There was a little store in that, and so this lady goes, "Oh my gosh!" And we had met on the ship, and her husband, they're both very very cool, and she says, "Hey, do you have any cash? Because I I or I don't have my card and they don't take cash or something." I said, "Oh yeah, no problem." And so I'm I whip out my Apple Watch and I put it down on there, and it's like paid, boom, like that. I didn't have to pull out my credit card or anything else. And she was blown away. So she had an Apple Watch, she had an Apple iPhone. So immediately upon getting back to the ship, she just went boom. I think she paid me back in cash, but we didn't try to do that part, but it was pretty funny. So
Mhm.
all right, let's unshare here. Anybody have any other questions before we adjourn? And again, Al, Mr. Link Master, will furnish all the great things that have happened. Randy, you got a question? Go ahead.
Well, no, pretty much just to follow along with the wallet, great job there. Is I did put in a link, touchless ID, the TSA pre-check now has a deal. You can do 5 airlines: Alaska, American, Delta, Southwest, and United. And you have the touchless ID. So I did put a link into that, and that link will reference all the airports that it's available in. So it's,
Fantastic.
yeah,
And that's in the great. And that's using that touchless ID is like kind of like we have a global entry, right?
pretty much.
Well, it's using Face ID, or is it using?
Yes, I believe, I don't know if it was the driver's license California or the passport, one of the apps, I actually had to take a picture, a photo of myself that they verify. I think that was for the passport.
It's both of them.
Oh, both of them. Okay.
Yeah, because it not only takes your photo, it makes sure it's a live photo, and it might ask you to blink and just get in a well lit situation
Yeah.
and then go from there. And it's not giving you a new photo for your ID, but
Oh,
yeah.
okay. But on the touchless TSA pre-check ID, it was pretty easy to do. The only fine print would be you have to have some type of a loyalty program, not necessarily a credit card, but a free loyalty program. So
Like like United Airlines or Southwest Air.
yeah, just their miles program.
Got it.
Just yeah. And once you're there, so I'm set up. I've got trips coming up on Alaska Airlines with a connection using American Airlines. And so I got the cards both into my wallet, but for Delta, which I have a SkyMiles account, I think I have to buy a ticket or something, and then it probably activates.
Well, if you're using it as if a credit card will show up there, but no, you have to in the Delta app, you would on your next trip, you would and it'll even work on your in Safari and your Mac, but when you're generating your boarding pass,
Oh, that's when.
and it's
Okay.
the what happens is so one's a credit card, but the other one is actually the boarding pass. Like I pulled up that one just a minute ago and it showed that the QR code was expired. That
Yeah.
was for my Cathay Pacific trip. And
Oh,
and and what you do with that is generally you have to be in the app of the airline, and then you say, and one thing you always do is add it to your calendar, but also say add to wallet when you get your boarding pass,
right.
because then it'll show up, it'll be QR code. And believe it or not, on your Apple Watch, that QR will show up too. But when I'm going through the ticket person, I don't want to be that guy. I like to be a little stealthy because I might have a bag that's too big or something like that. So I'll do the phone. And actually, to be honest, I always have them print me a boarding pass in addition because of that whole frustration level. And your phone dies, it gets lost, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So, and they're the same QR code. And then obviously, and with the QR code that happens in the app on your Apple Wallet, it will show you if you're TSA pre or whatever. So, and I encourage anybody for travel, use the Homeland Security TSA app, because you get priority when you go through, even if you don't have TSA pre. And if you travel internationally, get global uh, global access. It's better. All right, Harmon, go for it.
Well, I would like Mary to go through the transaction at her cashless bakery. Because this Apple Cash part of the wallet is new to me, and so I just does she go and hold the phone and double click, or
Just
how's
like you
it
would do
work?
a credit card in Apple Pay.
But
Think of it.
you have to first of all connect your checking account to your Apple Cash card. So, and then you can put,
No, for clarification, call it Apple Cash because I don't want to confuse people with the Apple Card.
okay, if
So,
you go
but
to the Apple
when you
Cash
go to
card,
use it, it's like
it,
using a credit card.
yeah, if you go to the Apple Cash card in your wallet, I think it's there no matter what, and you put add, there's a plus sign something, and you go add to add funds, and it'll connect to your savings account or checking account. And then when you go to the bakery, it looks just like a credit card in the wallet with all your other ones. Did
But you
that
have
make
to move,
sense?
let's say you move 10, you have to, if you're not getting someone paying you and you have a zero balance, just load it with 20 bucks or something like that.
But you have to put the plus and make sure it's connected.
Yeah. And it pulls that out of your bank, it puts it in this card, and then when you go to the cashless bakery, You
Yeah.
say pay with the Apple Cash, and it treats it just like a credit card. They have no difference and don't know.
And when you open Wallet on your iPhone, it looks just like any of the other credit cards, and it'll show you what your balance is.
Yeah, we could see it there on Kent when he was sharing his
Yeah.
wallet page on the phone.
Yeah.
So why do that rather than Apple Pay at the bakery?
That is
Oh.
Apple Pay.
Well, no, that's
Oh, well,
he's
okay.
going, why not, why use that rather than one of your credit cards that's in Apple Pay?
Because for me, I don't want to reconcile all those $2.99, $3.99.
Okay, so that all
Or
the
it,
little
or
tidbits.
yeah,
Or be like
for
me, just
budgeting.
never reconcile.
Yeah, yeah. Well, but some people have budgets for stuff.
No,
You
no, I
might,
know. I think it's great.
you might have a budget for the frivolous stuff. You put that in, and at the end of the month, then you know if you've used it or not. You could do it.
And the other thing is, all of them, all of what you do in Apple Pay, there's tracking for you. You can
Yeah.
see, and it'll usually pop up right on the screen. So, if you're sharing a card with somebody, it's like, oh, boom, I just spent something on it. So,
And
that's one thing nice with the Apple Card. Now, a little controversy on the Apple Card is Goldman Sachs is who partnered with Apple to do it. It looks like it's transitioning over to be Chase, but to be the same thing. But the really nice thing about the Apple Card is it, first of all, doesn't charge you any late fee. I think there's no late fee, whatever it is. But they show you there, if I pay this much on my card, how long will it take me to pay it off? So if there's people that keep balances on their card, it's a really nice tool so they can see how much trouble they might be getting into or what it would realistically take to do it. So to me, that was a good consumer education. And I think Apple really, that was a smart thing.
And can they also, now they have Apple account card and an Apple Cash card in your wallet.
Right.
And the Apple account goes directly to pay any, like if you're buying anything on, like if you have Apple One, it comes out of there. And I don't know how you get money. I haven't used that really, to tell you the truth. But I think it's the same. But like if you tap on Apple Cash and at the top of the pay, you hit the Q with the three little dots, Harmon, then you have the add money, or if you get an account, you want to transfer some back to the bank.
And if Pete McDonough, are you still here?
Yes.
So also when you bring your Apple Wallet, if you bring a card up in Apple Wallet and you go to info, it will show you your card number.
Right.
Thank
So
you.
that might be a little bit of help.
It might be easier to read for sure.
Yeah. And if it's still hard to read on your screen, you could highlight it and copy and paste it into something so you could blow it up. But yeah, so it might be in like white on black or black on white. So those and even the stupid code that you've got to give people, they've kept it so small on the credit card. I just don't know why that is.
Hey, good news. I passed my 2040 eye test. I'll be driving with one eye.
Awesome. So what do you got? 5 years to go on that then?
Yeah, until I'm 100.
And you know what's in 5 years, man. That's the goal. We're pulling for you.
Well, the only other catch is I have to get a note from my doctor for the other eye. But I'll be driving with one eye. Hey, I have a friend of mine. I gave her a ride. She says, I've been driving with one eye for years. I said, you're kidding me. No, I had eye cancer at 35. I said, how old are you now? She said, 75. She popped out her glass eye and she said, you want to hold it? Hey, did you know that you can drive legally blind? If you can take a golf cart test and just be like in Sun City where you live, as long as you can get to the lodge back home, they'll give you a license, but just to drive that so you can drive.
Oh, just for the golf cart. That's
Yeah,
funny.
well, or a car, but it's limited. You have to prove that you can drive to this spot, and so that's your driving range.
Whoa.
When I moved to Texas years ago, I have a thing where one of my eyes, I can have prism, one of my eyes just kind of wanders. And so like I can't look through binoculars. I have to look one eye through the binocular because this other one just goes crazy. But anyway, I go for I'm getting my Texas driver's license and they put you in this little thing like this. I can't see crap. I'm like, I'm blind. So I had to get a note from it, but I could read the eye chart. And so, and in fact, I don't even know if I wore glasses at the time, but I could read the eye chart, but this thing just wouldn't let me do it. So I had to get a note from an optometrist that said, "Oh no, he has this thing." And so, and again, I don't even think I had corrective lenses at the time. So that was weird.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, pop her eye out. Boy,
Oh boy.
that's like a good first date thing, you know.
Who've you been dating?
I dated a girl that had one ear.
There you go.
It was actually in her stomach because it got cut off in a car wreck and they were nourishing it and then she had it put back on. Anyway, boy, that quieted the room. Okay, anything else coming up? All right. Thank you very much, everybody. And we'll see the board members at 1. We're always happy to have volunteers, and we have a board seat open, if I'm not mistaken. So we'll see 1 o'clock, same time, same place. Oh, Mary, you mentioned looking for the email for the meeting, right? Or somebody did. If they're still here, you can always go to the website and it's listed there.
Yeah, I didn't find it either, but I just
I
used the
know.
one from
Yeah.
previous.
Yeah.